Not sure if you've been to CrossFit box, but you can't kip before getting at least 5 strict pull-ups. And so is the kipping pull-up an effective exercise for muscle growth, for strength gains, for a variety of goals when it comes to physical fitness? I put a poll on my Facebook page. If you haven't liked my Facebook page, please go to that today and like it. I've linked it below. And pretty overwhelmingly, the conclusion was no, although there were some very interesting comments on both sides of the argument. Now, I want to address this comment I got, and I want to explain the mistake. Now, I'm not going to bash CrossFit at all in this video, because in my videos, I talk about the importance of variation in training styles. And so if I were to purely bash CrossFit as a discipline, that would be extremely hypocritical. The real issue I see with some CrossFit is the competency of the trainer. For example, in this clip, you can see the position of the bar, and you can see just the way it's laid out, the equipment, the potential risks. And so I would think that it's really important within any CrossFit training that the trainer is able to modify the workout for people's experience level. And I think this can be difficult in CrossFit when you have large groups, large classes, especially when there's a class and they're all Olympic lifting, or there's a lot of barbell work going on at the same time. That can be very hard to control. And it's really the Olympic lifting for reps that I don't really agree with so much. And so CrossFit is not something that I will do, but having said that, I create my own reality with fitness. I do my own programming. I'm in my own world of fitness in terms of how I view it and how I train. And so let's have a look at this kipping pull-up. Now, generally speaking, with a pull-up, we know that it's this very effective compound movement. You're engaging the lats, the lower middle traps, the biceps. A large amount of muscles are used within this movement. And the kipping pull-up, the reason for the kipping pull-up, I think, is quite easy to understand. That in the CrossFit arena, the rules state that you have to get your chest to the bar a certain amount of times. That is what they classify as a full rep. And so what's happened is people within this discipline sort of created this kipping style so that they can do as many reps in the quickest amount of time possible with the least amount of fatigue possible. So most definitely, when I look at the kipping pull-up, for me, this is specific to CrossFit. And and under the rules of these CrossFit games, it is an efficient movement within CrossFit. Now, when you take it out to wider physical fitness, it is an inefficient movement. And this is where the problems lie. And also, what happens is that people who do not have a great experience with a breadth of physical fitness disciplines, they may just train CrossFit and they may be new to exercise and they will get very tribal about what they do. Now, this is true of CrossFit and other disciplines. And it's when they become very tribal about what they do and they try and project that into the commonplace physical fitness spheres that a lot of misunderstanding comes, because they're not able to communicate information in context. And I'm not trying to be condescending here, but that is the truth. And so the kipping pull-up, by definition, by CrossFit definition, is not a progression of a pull-up. You don't have to be able to do 5 strict pull-ups to then be able to perform 1 kipping pull-up. That's not actually the point. It's actually, the kipping pull-up is a regression of a strict pull-up. It's an easier version. And the reason actually within CrossFit that it is asked that people can do several strict pull-ups before they do a kipping pull-up is for safety, it's for injury avoidance. Because a beginner can do a kipping pull-up before they can do several reps of a normal pull-up. And there is potential for injury when you have a closed kinetic chain exercise, which in this case is where the terminal point, the hands are fixed to a bar. That's a closed kinetic chain. when you're doing these sort of swinging movements, there is the potential for injury, more so with the butterfly pull-up than the standard kipping pull-up. And what they're trying to do is make sure that people have a good control over their body before they do these more sort of dynamic movements, especially with the eccentric loading of a kipping pull-up. They want to make sure that people have a strength through a strict pull-up, that they have strong lats, strong stabilizing muscles, and that if they do get into a mechanically risky position, they're able to try and decrease the risk of injury. Now, in the case of the kipping pull-up, everything is done at speed, and therefore the eccentric portion of the kipping pull-up is actually not really applicable, because generally speaking, during the eccentric portion of a movement, you have a greater force potential, but this is not applicable to the kipping pull-up. So the reason that it's 5 pull-ups to do 1 kipping pull-up is not because that's the progression. It's the other way around, in that it will help to avoid injury if you are stronger than this dynamic movement. So I just want to clear that up first of all. And so when it comes to wider fitness, the pull-up undoubtedly is effective. Now, as somebody that loves variations, anybody that trains pull-ups will use variations, but I most certainly believe that strict form variations are much more effective and efficient than a kipping pull-up. For example, mixed grip pull-ups, isometric pull-ups. If you want to be explosive with acceleration, plyometric pull-ups. You have your sort of towel pull-ups. I do all of these commando pull-ups, which works certainly one side of the body, a larger load on one side of the body. And so in terms of muscle growth and strength and sports performance, the kipping pull-up is not applicable. It's not efficient or effective in my opinion. So I think we need to be fair, and a lot of the disinformation, as I said, comes from people who perhaps don't have great experience or knowledge within physical fitness, who participate in one discipline and then want to project that onto other people. And that's true of other things. CrossFit is a niche. Powerlifting is a niche. Bodybuilding is a niche. Certain body weight groups are a niche. There are many niches within physical fitness, and in essence, they are all extremes. Powerlifting, no powerlifter is going to tell you that powerlifting is an optimal all-around health performance discipline. The same with bodybuilders, and I think the same has to come in with CrossFit. These are extremes. They are people who are dedicated and passionate towards a specific goal. For powerlifting, to lift as much weight as possible. For bodybuilding, increase in muscle size while maintaining symmetry, etc. And CrossFit specifically is these CrossFit competitions. But I absolutely understand why it's used in CrossFit, and I don't have a problem with that staying in CrossFit, but that's where it needs to stay. So we need to be careful when we try and project our ideas onto other spheres of physical fitness. But one application of a kipping pull-up to, let's say, muscle gain could be doing it as a sort of modified drop set, a kind of few cheat reps at the end of a strict pull-up set. And so I would say that the injuries that we do see in CrossFit are most certainly down to incompetent trainers, also people who don't fully understand the risks involved in movements and who have not prepared their body for movements, specifically Olympic lifting. Having said that, people who train CrossFit should most certainly train other disciplines as well, because we know that change equals adaptation. So please let me know down in the comments what you feel about perhaps the most controversial movement there is, the kipping pull-up. I'm James Linker, Shredded Sports Science. I'll see you soon.